This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Today, the latest on our governor race coverage. Dane County is turning to AI for non-emergency calls, and a Good On Ya segment for a popular local birder who got this city to update a policy on behalf of our avian friends. Y'all, yesterday on the show, I spoke with Francesca Hong, a Democratic Socialist running for Wisconsin State Governor. And if elected, she would be the first Democratic Socialist governor in U.S. history. We wanted to dive a little deeper into why socialism is appealing to our battleground state of Wisconsin. And here to talk with me about this and the rest of our stories today is our executive producer, Haley Sperling. Hey, Haley.
Hi, Bianca. Happy Wednesday. We've got so much politics, so much news today.
There's so much politics, and I'm really getting into it. It's getting meaty and to the core of who we are. So, yes. So what's going on, Haley?
It's getting to the core of who we are. Wisconsin is not new to socialism. For folks who don't know, back in 1910, Wisconsin actually became the first state to elect a socialist to Congress. And Milwaukee, as folks probably know, is home to the quote unquote sewer socialism movement that put really simply got its name from officials who wanted to expand the city's sewage system. And Wisconsin's back in the headlines again because recently the New York Times published an article on Francesca Hong called, quote, "A Big Gamble for the Left. Can Socialism Appeal in a Swing State?" As we know, Hong is among a growing list of Midwest politicians like Minnesota State Senator Oma Fate, being referred to as, quote unquote, Midwest Mamdanis. And this is referring to, of course, the recently elected mayor of New York City, Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani. Some parallels between all these folks are essentially their grassroots campaign, heavy appeal to the working class, and political agendas that entice liberals who feel the Democratic Party is old and beholden to these essentially corporate interests.
Yeah, honestly, democratic socialism is something that has been a part of the Democratic Party, but it maybe hasn't been labeled that way. But now it's getting a lot more popularity and coming to the forefront. And you know the way I love to say Mamdani. I mean, that was quite the campaign that Zoran Mamdani ran. That said, I think we both know that Wisconsin is certainly not like New York City. We have some of that, but demographically, density-wise, even in our largest cities. So, Haley, how are you seeing Democratic Socialists like Francesca Hong appealing to Wisconsinites on both sides of the political spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question considering Wisconsin is about as purple as it comes. But Hong's campaign is really focusing in on the struggle between the working class and the ultra wealthy and recognizing how rising prices of just about everything is affecting literally everyone. So some of her platforms, as she talked about in your interview, are for things like free healthcare and a wealth tax, which is something that both parties, are kind of resonating with. And, maybe you've seen her social media post where she unabashedly calls to tax the effing billionaires. She's not as clean-mouthed as I am here. You can see the video for yourself online. And
it's very eat the rich energy.
Exactly. Like she's saying it. She's saying it out loud and wholeheartedly 10 toes down. And, across the political aisle, Hong is really making inroads on one issue in particular, and that is her opposition to data centers. So she has a plan outlined in her platform called Control-Alt-Delete, which would implement a pause on data center construction in Wisconsin, quote, until we know the true cost to our state, unquote. And we know data centers are a hot topic in Wisconsin. Don't have to tell you that twice, Bianca. I know we've got a few previous podcast episodes that we could recommend to folks there. But, the TLDR of this matter is that as tech companies are coming in and buying up land in our region for data centers to fuel AI, Wisconsin residents are concerned about a lot of different things, and that is use of water, electricity, and taxes. A recent Marquette Law School poll showed that 70% of Wisconsinites, including more than half of Republicans, agree that the cost of data centers outweigh the benefits.
I think that this issue, and you probably agree with me here, has been one that we're seeing like people across the aisle get engaged in a way that I haven't seen an issue corral people in a long time. This issue is for the people, and like we need the people's voices to be heard. So there's so much energy there.
Absolutely. I kind of feel like when Charlie Barron's entered the chat, which I know you talked to Charlie about this, like that really, really took this issue to the next level and allowed people to kind of understand what was going on, because he does such a good job being both a former journalist and a comedian. Like he does such a good job communicating these complex issues to people. But here's the thing, though, is that like just because folks really like where Hong stands on AI and data centers doesn't mean that it's just all smooth sailing from here, right? The big challenge for Hong and other democratic socialists is essentially like the conditioning of some voters who feel kind of triggered by the word socialist, and the fact that some Democrats also feel that she and candidates like herself might be too unconventional to be elected. So it's a whole can of worms, honestly. And, Bianca, I'm curious, we talked about your conversation with Fran yesterday. How do you feel that she will appeal to Wisconsin voters?
Yeah, it really does come down to language here, because I think the term socialism, populism, all of these ideologies, they just sound so academic. And if you haven't studied it, it sounds scary, because guess what? It's been weaponized. Every ideological stance across the board has been weaponized for forever. And if you don't really know, what does a democratic socialist policy platform look like? Does it mean I'm going to be under, some sort of lockdown, I'm losing my guns, my right? Like, it's just, it brings up a lot of fear, like anything that's uncertain. So I think there's a challenge for the democratic socialists like Francesca Hong. And I think that just from judging from the interview with her, that she is not like honing in, like, let me tell you what democratic socialism is. It's like, let me show you, like, through these specific policies and what I'm talking about for parents, for our kids in our schools, and like what that actually looks like materially. And then as I say the word material, I remember her saying that in the interview. I'm like, that's another academic term, it means something that's concrete. But I think big picture, like, how will she appeal to Wisconsin voters? Was Donald Trump won Wisconsin. That's surprised a number of folks, but he won it on a populist campaign. And populism has its roots and touches on the same economic frustrations that democratic socialism is trying to address. Wage stagnation. Francesca Hong in our interview talked about the $20 minimum raise that she proposed. And that's the sort of thing that I think will resonate with people. I think people are probably skeptical of, can that happen? But when we've had such inflation and such economic precarity, like, we're living in trying times. Oh, I realized I wanted to bring up one more point, which is Time put out an article on Monday saying that Trump is ramping up saying communism as one of the biggest threats to the US in this election. According to Times analysis, Trump has invoked the word communism more than 94 times in public remarks and social media posts since June 25th. So the end of June, almost 100 times he's out here talking about communism and describing some of the party's candidates as, quote, hardcore godless communists. Do I think that's going to be an issue for the Dems?
That's funny.
Yeah. So, I mean, hardcore godless communists. I mean, the boogeyman is backed, and that was very effective for Trump during his last presidential campaign. When you look at, Florida and some of the constituencies that got him elected, he was like, hey, remember communism? Yeah, that's what the Dems want.
You know that there's some Etsy shop going real hard selling shirts that say hardcore godless communist on them, right?
Yeah, like some people are like, yes, accurate, like check that demographic box.
But I mean, for real, it's not a bad move for him. It makes sense. Like, when we really think about it, and I think about this constantly because I did study like the Soviet Union in college. That was kind of like a minor of mine, essentially. But like, the Cold War ended not that long ago. You know, the Berlin Wall fell in 1989. This is fresh in people's mind. It's not fresh for millennials or Gen Zers who are really actively part of these DSA campaigns, but for everyone else, and there is still a lot of everyone else, they're really thinking about these things where socialism, communism, big scary things, the boogeyman, like you said, Bianca, it was very real.
Yeah, like that's not something to joke about. For some people, that is one of the most important issues, being like, I don't want to be in a communist country. But I do think people are looking for a solution in these trying times, and also kind of straight talkers who are going to tell them what they need to know and cut through the noise and say it simply. It might be worth saying, if anyone is going to be able to stand up to the rhetorical style of Donald Trump, it might be a Francesca Hong. I mean, we noticed that in her interview. She's willing to say things boldly, even controversially. She will use swears and, be pretty frank, and knows how to, I think, talk to the working class. And yeah, so it's yet to be seen. And of course, we're still in the primary, but this does feel like one of the prevailing conversations in this moment, which is progressivism at the top of the ticket this election. And Hong isn't the only Democratic socialist making waves and getting national attention in Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Juliana Bennett, who is running for Assembly District 76, which is Francesca Hong's seat that she's currently in, and one of Madison's most progressive districts, has gotten an endorsement from the Democratic Socialists of America, so the national DSA chapter. And folks might know Juliana Bennett as a former Madison City Council member and a legislative aide. She said that she went through months of vetting by DSA and had to get a unanimous recommendation from the Madison DSA in order to get that national nod. And the Madison chapter said, quote, Juliana represents the next generation of leadership that our movement needs, unquote. And interestingly enough, Francesca Hong is endorsed by the Madison area DSA, but she has not gotten a national DSA nod as of this recording. So just an interesting point of comparison there.
Wow, that makes Juliana's nod feel even more impactful.
It's big, right? And for what it's worth, Bennett's platform includes lowering rent and property taxes through legalizing rent control and increasing taxes for millionaires. She wants to increase the state's special education reimbursement to 90% and to end the state's private school voucher system. She also wants to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 an hour, which is insane, which is where we currently sit, to $23 an hour. So she's got a lot going on there. I will say, for her part, a lot of the candidates in this race for the 76 have very similar platforms. So Juliana got this big nod from the national DSA, but it's not like she's that different, I think, from the rest of the pack, if we're being real. I would point folks, if you want to learn more about the 76, Jade, our producer, and myself went to a recent candidate forum where all of the candidates in the running answered questions, and we actually have a full script of that forum. If people want to go check it out, we will have a link in our show notes.
Yes. And I believe the audio is up too, right?
Yes,
folks can actually listen, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And before we move on from this governor section, we've gotten really into it, which is exciting. Another leader in the governor race, characterized as more of the establishment moderate candidate of the bunch, had a shakeup this week, Haley.
Yes, there is so much going on in the governor's race. Earlier this week, we heard that another Democratic candidate for governor, Sarah Rodriguez, she is our current lieutenant governor for what it's worth, she fired her campaign manager, Kara Spencer, because of quote unquote financial reporting errors. A review found that Rodriguez's campaign may have overstated collections by at least $100,000 because of what seemed to be duplicate entries from donors. So kind of fishy stuff going on here. Rodriguez canceled a few events over the weekend and withdrew from forums and hasn't really been super public on this matter yet. So definitely a big shakeup there. I don't know.
Yeah, I know we're trying to get her on the show, but that is not exactly a positive sign when the leader of your campaign has to be canned. And I know I saw a lot of chatter online being like, cooking the books. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but it's not a good look. I mean, what do you think this means for the election?
Yeah, I mean, I will say mistakes happen, right? But when you are at this level of the game, like you can't have mistakes like this because of what you said. It's simply the optics. They do not look good. And this candidate field is still very full. So we know that Rodriguez just announced a major TV ad buy. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe this news will get drowned out by that commercial once it really starts hitting the airwaves. But it really does open the door to the other four candidates to make some big moves because, like I said, this is still a very competitive primary.
Yeah, there's still time in this election. And don't forget, the primary is August 11th. We'll continue our coverage of the governor's race and what y'all are talking about, what the people want. And with that, we are going to continue on today. We've got more stories. But first, we're going to take a quick break. A big change is coming to how Dane County handles non-emergency calls. AI is coming, and folks naturally have thoughts. Haley, you've got more details on this story. What's happening?
Yes, a lot is happening. The Dane County Department of Public Safety Communications, aka the PSC, announced earlier this week that it's implementing a new AI virtual assistant to help handle calls on its non-emergency line. This is a number that folks can call when like something needs attention but isn't necessarily life-threatening. So these are things like noise complaints, animal control, past crimes, like if you're reporting a theft that happened, suspicious activity, or like if you just have a general inquiry. So AKA non-emergency. But here's the thing, so the PSC handles both non-emergency and emergency 911 calls. And according to the county, the PSC takes on more than 375,000 calls a year, with roughly 200,000 of those calls being non-emergency. So to put simply, more than half of the calls to the PSC are non-emergency calls. And they are fielding some of the highest call volumes in Wisconsin with a staff of just 15 communicators, which is pretty wild. And, as a note too, the Dane County PSC doesn't take non-emergency calls for Sun Prairie, UW-Madison, Stoughton, Monona, or Middleton. All of those entities have their own non-emergency lines.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Haley. We are entering a new world where people are no longer taking calls and we get to talk to robots. It sounds like, though, those lines are pretty busy. So how will AI help?
Yeah, we're taking a lot of calls, right? According to the county, this new system will supposedly streamline the process of getting non-emergency calls answered, and it will help free up the time of PSC dispatchers to then focus on those emergency 911 calls. Because essentially, like, if you are on the phone with a PSC dispatcher for a non-emergency call, like you have a noise complaint you want to make, but then a 911 call comes in, that non-emergency call that you're put on has to get on hold. That dispatcher has to pivot and talk to the emergency caller. So essentially, what they're hoping is that this new AI tool will lead to no hold times, no phone trees, and no missed calls. So it will allow those dispatchers to really focus in on the calls that need human attention. And something that's also kind of neat, I guess, about this software is that it can have a conversation, allegedly conversation. I don't know, I feel weird using that term with AI, but in 45 different languages across voice, text, and web chat. And I mean, to me, AI aside, more accessibility, in the form of language options is always a good thing. So, not bad there. This tool can also apparently monitor the call for signs of, quote, escalating emergency, unquote, and it will transfer then that call to a human operator if needed.
I mean, you're sharing pros and cons, and like my human reaction is we'll decide who's human, which one's worth escalating. That said, do I have conversations with that AI? I also do. So weird territory, but yeah.
It's weird space to be in. it's a weird time to be a human. I've got a lot of mixed feelings about it. In a press release about the introduction of this new software, which is called Ava, PSC director Luis Bixler said, quote, with Ava, our call takers can be available a greater amount of time to take emergency phone calls, as well as spending more time providing life-saving instructions. Our telecommunicators are trained to give CPR instructions, to coordinate a response for an active assailant, or to stay on the line with someone in crisis. Every non-emergency call that Ava handles is time our team can give completely to someone who genuinely needs emergency services. So again, they are really hammering in on the fact that this will hopefully save time for dispatchers to just give to the real emergency callers. And to be clear here too, Dane County PSC has a clear line. Ava will take the routine calls, the non-emergencies, and the PSC team will take the emergencies. And at the end of the day, the PSC has continuously emphasized that if you aren't sure whether you should call the non-emergency line or call 911, like, just call 911. Like, it's okay.
Sure. So that's kind of like the fail safe if there's any ambiguity. I don't know. I'm still processing this in real time. I mean, Haley, how are people responding to this news?
Yeah, I mean, similar to how you and I are, right? Like the news has been making its way around various corners of the Madison internet. I've seen a lot of chatter on Reddit and various Facebook groups. And, you know, understandably, people are pretty wary because people want to talk to people. But at that same time, the county, as we know, does not have the budget to hire more people, which is what a lot of folks on the internet are like. Why don't they just hire more people, give people benefits, give people jobs? That would be great, right? That would be the ideal. But we don't have the money to do that, which sucks. So the county is turning to something else. But, you know, for what it's worth, AI really does not have a good reputation in general. And most folks probably haven't had the best experiences with AI customer assistants. Like, I don't know about you, Bianca, but like, I've definitely gotten stuck in AI loops before trying to troubleshoot with a product or a return, you know, people with their Amazon purchases online, stuff like that.
What's coming to mind for me is being at Woodman's, the grocery store, and being at the self-checkout line and just knowing that I'm going to have to turn over my shoulder and look to the human about 25 times before I get out of the store. And I'm like, girl, hey, I'm sorry. It's going off again. It's misunderstood the request. It's telling me to remove my bags. My bags are there. I've moved it. I picked it up 5 times. Part of that, I'll take responsibility, is that I'm impatient and I'm trying to, you know, and it's like, you're not doing it exactly as I need, but humans can pick up on nuance. And I mean, yeah, I mean, just on first hearing this, we already talked about how much government should be involved in people's lives, how people are trying to figure that out. But yes, calls are inefficient, facts with humans. And I don't know. They're nice. I miss having time with my doctors. Yada, yada, yada. How about you?
Oh my God. The AI in healthcare does make me nervous for a multitude of reasons. And we could probably have like a whole hour-long show about that. Like, yeah, I have never really had a great experience with an AI chatbot, but like, I don't know. I'm really trying to think about like the best case scenarios here, right? Because like for its part, this product is being used in emergency call centers across the US. And on their website, they've got a bunch of glowing reviews, obviously, as, you know, company websites would. But like best case scenario here is that this will be a good thing, that our 911 dispatchers will have more time to connect with people, have more time to give real emergencies their attention. Hopefully kinks can get ironed out. I'm sure there will be some, but like non-emergency calls can get answered more quickly. People won't have to wait on hold, and that they can just get the information they need and be on with their day. Like I'm really trying to look at this as a glass half full scenario, because like we know that the other options, like hiring more people, just don't exist right now.
Yeah. And I think if folks listen to my conversation with our CEO, David Platts, on Your City Could Be Better, our national podcast with this network, and heard my points of view on data centers, people are like, well, I know you don't like AI. That's also not true. So on the flip of the coin, like, yes, I'm a human and I have these human thoughts and interactions. I've had very fruitful uses of AI chatbots, and like particularly more like AI co-work sorts of things. And, you know, I know that we're trying to transparently, like as a company, that's like a goal for us is like, what can we do to make sure that the humans on the team are doing the most human things and that we can have tools that support us with the resources that we have. And so, yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, like being able to speak in all of those different languages, massive. There are some accessibility considerations here. And there's a lot to talk about this conversation. We've got another story to get to, but before we do, we want to hear from you. Like, what do you think about this use of AI specifically from the county? Also, other places that you're seeing it, how it's impacting your life. Let us know. Text or leave us a voicemail on the CityCast Madison line at 608-318-3367. We love hearing from you. I'm all stirred up from this. I'm curious if you are. Call in. You might just hear your voice on an upcoming show. All right, we've got some good news coming up next, but first, a quick break. All right, Madison has a Lorax who speaks for our birds. For this week's Good On Ya, we're shouting out longtime friend and fan favorite guest on this podcast, Dexter Patterson, aka the Wisco Birder. Dex recently helped convince the city of Madison to change its mowing schedule for natural areas in his neighborhood over on the city's Far East Side to protect nesting birds. This is a super civic story, honestly. Dex just straight up went to the city and his city alder, Sabrina Madison of District 17, to use his voice and try to educate and ultimately successfully campaign to push moving these spaces mowing schedule permanently to the fall. What a win for baby birdies on the east side.
I love this so much. And this is like such a great example, I feel like, of citizen science having real impact, and also how you as people, us as residents of Madison, like we can have impact on this city. If you see something, say something, bring it up to your alder. Like, shout out to Sabrina Madison for listening and for pushing for change. Like, this is a small thing, but it has such a big impact. And I love this story. Dex really is like the Lorax of Madison, for real.
It's the highest of duties alongside his work as a teacher. I mean, I can't ever say anything's higher than a teacher. Maybe a mom. I don't know. But what's cool is it sounds like Dex sat down with city staff, including a restoration ecologist. Good on you, Madison, having those working in your ranks to help identify a workable solution, which will also, by the way, help not just birds, but pollinators, insects, and wildflowers who also depend on that wildness during the growing season. I am like really high on my supply about pollinators and like butterflies and things that are light and breezy that also just keep us connected. Like now I'm thinking about the show CityCast Madison, like us kind of trying to be little pollinators.
Yeah, we're like little pollinators spreading little news nuggets for people around the city. I love that. And yeah, again, I just think shout out to Dex for doing the work, for getting people to listen, for bringing up this issue that is so important, because it's a small step that we can take now that can have a really big impact on our future. Like, Madison loves to talk the talk. Will it walk the walk? And here's an example of the city doing that, which is pretty cool to see.
Yes. Walk the walk, birds flying high. You know what I mean. And moving ahead, I got this from Dex's Facebook. He made a post and it said that he's going to be working with the city to do community science projects to document the wildlife in this restoration project. So it's not even over. It wasn't just that one win, but he's going to make it even more impactful. So good on you, Dex Patterson. We see you. We love you. And thanks for making Madison better.
Thanks for making Madison more beautiful. Like, I'm just thinking about how much I love seeing these native plants and birds and insects and pollinators. Like, I've seen a few more butterflies out this year. It just makes me really happy. And I love seeing like all the flowers and the medians and stuff like that. So yeah, shout out to Dex. Shout out to the city for this one. This is some good stuff.
Yeah, you know, I will say when I moved back from DC to Madison, I guess there was a Chicago in between there, but when I remember being like, oh my God, or when I would come back and visit, I would walk around the neighborhoods and just be like, we are so cute. Like Madison
Yes.
houses, like the way everyone has all of these wildflowers in their front yard. And I was like, that's what made me miss Madison. And so we're really good at this. And there are few things that are close to my heart, like rewilding spaces. So I love that as we continue to grow, that we can still be prioritizing these sorts of missions. Haley Sperling, as we all continue to grow, it is great talking to you about this Madison talk today. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bianca. This has been fun.
That's all for today here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Madison. And hey, if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with a political nerd who likes to cross-pollinate ideas? All right, y'all. But seriously, help spread the word about CityCast Madison. Share the link. Share this with your friends. Keep the conversation going. Call in. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. And until then, take good care and thanks for listening.